All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling the future of finance, specifically all the buzz around blockchain and cryptocurrencies. We've got a really insightful video analysis to unpack. So, uh, are we on the brink of a financial revolution, or is this just, another wave of hype?
Well, the video paints a pretty compelling picture of what it calls a perfect storm brewing. You've got stricter regulations coming into play, and at the same time, blockchain technology just keeps advancing, so these two forces are kind of converging. Imagine like a world where value flows as easily as information does on the internet. What could that unlock for, well, for anyone, really?
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Like, just imagine how different international payments could be. No more waiting days for transfers to go through or those crazy fees. But here's the thing, if this tech is so revolutionary, why haven't we seen, mass adoption already?
And that's where the whole perfect storm idea comes in. The speaker in the video, they believe the global financial system is right on the edge of a huge liquidity surge, maybe even as soon as 2025. Think of it like a tidal wave of capital suddenly flowing into a system that's ready for change. That could be what finally pushes blockchain into the mainstream.
So are we talking a crypto bull run, like bigger than anything we've ever seen? Should I be rushing out to buy Bitcoin right now?
Oh, hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Trying to time the market is, well, it's a recipe for disaster. And
Yeah.
any investment obviously comes with risk. What's interesting from the video, though, is that institutional interest in crypto is definitely on the rise. Big players like hedge funds and asset managers, they're starting to test the waters. So this influx of big money could definitely shake things up.
Speaking of big players, the video mentioned this mysterious whale, like a major crypto investor. Apparently, they predicted Bitcoin's surge after one of those Donald Trump tweets, remember? And now this same whale is shorting Bitcoin. That's a pretty big change in strategy, isn't it? Does that signal that, institutional investors are starting to feel bearish about Bitcoin?
It's definitely an interesting detail, and it makes you wonder, what does this whale know that we don't? Short selling basically means betting that an asset's price is going to go down. So maybe they think Bitcoin's current value is too high, or maybe it's just a way to protect themselves against other risks in the market. It just goes to show that, even the most successful investors can have totally different views on where crypto is headed.
So if even the experts are divided on Bitcoin, where does that leave, the average person trying to figure all this out? The video seems really bullish on XRP, saying it could be a bridge currency. Can you explain what that means and why it matters?
Think of XRP as like a universal translator for value. Right now, if you want to exchange, say, dollars for euros, you need all these intermediaries, and it's a whole complicated process. XRP is designed to streamline that by acting as a bridge, letting you directly and efficiently exchange, well, any kind of asset, even things like loyalty points or digital art.
So it's less about holding on to it like Bitcoin, which some call digital gold, and more about using it to make transactions easier.
Exactly. The video talks about on-demand liquidity, which is basically using XRP to instantly convert one type of value into another. There's even this quote that stuck with me. It said, "As a client, is there any exposure to the fluctuations in the cryptocurrency price?" Great question. And no. So it seems like XRP's value is really tied to its usefulness, not just its price on the market.
That's pretty interesting. So instead of trying to buy low and sell high, you'd be investing in the technology and how it's actually used in the real world.
Right. And that brings us to another big theme from the video, the coming technological revolution. The speaker argues that AI, specifically its ability to actually write code better than humans can, is going to have a massive impact on the future of finance.
Okay, I'll admit, that part makes me a little nervous. Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
Well, let's not get too carried away with the dystopian scenarios just yet. Think back to when computers started beating humans at math, or when AI mastered chess. Those were huge changes, but ultimately they led to new industries, new jobs, and new opportunities. AI coding could be another one of those turning points. Imagine if we could automate all these complex financial processes with like incredible speed and accuracy.
So instead of being afraid of AI, we should be figuring out how to adapt and use it to our advantage.
Exactly. And to do that, we need to understand where our current financial systems are, well, frankly, falling short. The video points out this crazy statistic. There's something like $27 trillion just sitting in what are called Nostro Vostro accounts.
Nostrovostro accounts. I'm not familiar with those. What are they and why should I care?
Basically, they're bank-to-bank accounts used for international transactions. So imagine you've got a friend in another country who wants to do business with you. Right now, they might have to deposit a huge chunk of money in your bank account just to get things started. It's incredibly inefficient and costly.
Wow, that's a pretty ridiculous way to do things in this day and age.
I know, right? And the video argues that blockchain, maybe even using XRP, could completely revolutionize this. Imagine sending money across borders instantly with almost no fees and total transparency. That's the kind of efficiency and accessibility that blockchain promises.
It all sounds, really promising. But I still feel a little lost when it comes to actually analyzing crypto investments. There are just so many coins and projects out there. How do you cut through the noise and make smart decisions?
The video gives some good advice. It stresses the importance of doing your research and thinking critically. Look past the hype and focus on the basics.
Hmm.
Does this cryptocurrency actually solve a real-world problem? Does it have a clear advantage over others? Is there a strong team behind it with a good track record?
So it's kind of like analyzing any other investment. Don't just chase the latest trend. Do your homework and understand what you're actually investing in. It's not just about buying low and selling high.
Precisely. The video even shares this interesting fact. If you hold just 11,500 XRP, you'd be in the top 4% of XRP holders worldwide. Think about that. Would you have been an early adopter back in, say, 2016 or 2017 if you'd known about XRP then?
It's easy to see that now looking back. But yeah, I definitely wish I'd known more about all this back then. But hey, it's never too late to learn and adapt, right?
Absolutely not. The key is to stay informed, stay curious, and be willing to challenge your own assumptions. But speaking of assumptions, let's talk about Bitcoin. The video presents a few different viewpoints, from Michael Saylor's, enthusiastic digital gold stance to others who are, well, more nuanced, emphasizing the need for real-world use cases and problem solving.
Yeah, I remember when Bitcoin first came out, it was this mysterious, almost mythical thing, digital money that operated outside of governments and banks. But now it seems like the story's changed. Some people see it as this safe haven asset, while others aren't so sure about its long-term viability.
That's why it's so important to avoid, just blindly accepting one view and instead really consider different perspectives. Is Bitcoin really just digital gold, or could it become something more dynamic and functional?
It's a good question. It reminds me of that story about Michael Saylor trying to explain Bitcoin to a 5-year-old and the kid just got completely lost. It shows how important clear communication is, especially with complicated financial topics.
Definitely. Even the smartest people can get bogged down in the details and forget that, at the end of the day, technology should be about empowering people and making their lives better.
All right, so we've talked about XRP and Bitcoin, but what about Ethereum? The video analyzes its recent price drop and suggests it might be following its usual pattern of bouncing back to even higher highs. So, is this a buying opportunity, or should we be cautious about the current market sentiment?
That's a question a lot of investors are asking themselves right now. Remember, market sentiment can change really quickly, and fear can spread just as fast as excitement. What's important is to separate those emotions from the underlying fundamentals.
So instead of getting caught up in the hype or the doom and gloom, we should focus on understanding the technology and what it can actually do.
Exactly. Does all the negativity around Ethereum right now mean there's something fundamentally wrong with it, or is it just, a bump in the road on its way up?
Those are tough questions, but it seems like asking those tough questions is the only way to navigate this whole, ever-changing landscape. Speaking of which, let's talk about the elephant in the room, regulation. The video talks about how crypto regulations are evolving, especially in the US, and how they could impact the future of finance.
That's a crucial part of this whole discussion, and it often gets overlooked because of all the hype around the technology itself. Having clear regulations is key for encouraging innovation while also, protecting people. It's a tough balancing act for policymakers around the world.
The video seems pretty optimistic, pointing to statements from U.S. senators who are pushing for crypto-friendly regulations. They argue that, supporting innovation in this space is essential if America wants to stay competitive globally.
And remember that story from the video about the First Lady being denied a bank account by certain institutions? That's a pretty stark example of how outdated and exclusionary our current financial systems can be. Crypto advocates say that blockchain can provide more inclusive and accessible financial services, empowering people who've been left out by the traditional system.
It's a compelling argument. But you can't just ignore the concerns about security, volatility, and the potential for misuse, right? I mean,
No.
we've all heard about those crypto hacks and scams.
Of course, those are valid concerns and they need to be addressed carefully. The challenge is to create regulations that mitigate those risks without, killing the potential benefits. It's a tricky situation with a lot at stake.
It sounds like the decisions made today could have a ripple effect for years to come, shaping the entire global financial system. That's a lot of pressure on those policymakers.
It is, and that's why this conversation needs to involve more than just, policymakers and tech experts. We need a variety of voices and perspectives to make sure that the future of finance benefits everyone, not just a select few.
So where do we go from here? What are some of the potential scenarios the video lays out?
One really thought-provoking idea is this concept of a multi-currency world. Imagine a future where traditional currencies like the dollar and the euro coexist and interact with all sorts of digital currencies and tokens.
I'm already trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
But it also sounds, kind of liberating. More choices, more flexibility, and maybe even more control over our own finances.
Yeah.
But wouldn't having so many different currencies just create chaos and confusion?
That's a valid concern, and it's something that economists are actively debating. Some argue that cryptocurrencies are just too volatile to be used widely. Others think that as more people use them and we develop more sophisticated risk management tools, the market will eventually stabilize.
It seems like we're venturing into uncharted territory. There's really no historical precedent for this kind of financial transformation.
That's what makes it so exciting. We're literally witnessing the birth of a new era in finance, and it's up to all of us to help shape it. Will it be a force for good, promoting financial inclusion and opportunity? Or will it just make existing inequalities worse and lead to instability?
Big questions, for sure. The video stresses the importance of education and critical thinking. It encourages viewers to do their own research, question assumptions, and engage in constructive dialogue.
Informed citizens are the foundation of a healthy democracy, and that's especially important in this rapidly evolving world of crypto and blockchain. We need to move beyond, simplistic narratives and really grapple with the nuances and complexities of this technology.
The video also talks about the importance of collaboration, breaking down silos and getting governments, businesses, technologists, and everyday people all talking to each other. It's not just about the tech, it's about building a financial system that's more equitable and sustainable for everyone.
That's where the real transformative potential lies. If we can harness the power of this technology for good, we can unlock levels of financial inclusion and opportunity that were, well, unimaginable before. Imagine a world where anyone, no matter their background or where they live, can access financial services, send money across borders instantly and affordably, and participate in the global economy on a level playing field.
That's a vision worth striving for. But it's not going to happen by itself. It takes effort, collaboration, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
It also requires each of us to ask ourselves, what role do I want to play in shaping this future? Am I going to just watch it happen, or am I going to be a part of it?
Powerful questions. But before we get into those individual choices, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The video makes some really interesting historical comparisons that might help us grasp how big this technological shift could be.
You know what they say? History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. By studying a past, we can get valuable insights into where things might be headed.
So, what historical events or trends does the video use to help us make sense of this crypto revolution?
That's where things get even more interesting. We'll explore those historical parallels and what they might teach us about the road ahead in the next part of our deep dive.
Picking up where we left off, let's dive into those evolving crypto regulations, especially in the U.S. It's a tough balancing act for policymakers, isn't it?
It really is. It's about finding that sweet spot where regulations promote a healthy environment, but don't, stifle the potential of the technology. Too much regulation, and you risk pushing development to countries with more relaxed rules. Too little, and you could end up with a Wild West situation full of scams and instability.
Yeah, that makes sense. The video does seem optimistic, though, highlighting statements from some U.S. senators who are advocating for a more crypto-friendly approach. They argue that fostering innovation in this space is crucial for America to stay competitive globally.
Right, and remember that anecdote from the video about the First Lady being denied a bank account by certain institutions? It really highlights how outdated and honestly exclusionary our current financial systems can be. Crypto advocates believe that blockchain can provide more inclusive and accessible financial services, empowering those who've been, well, traditionally left out.
It's an interesting argument.
Yeah.
But you can't just dismiss the concerns about security, volatility, and the potential for misuse, can you? We've all heard those stories about crypto hacks and scams.
Of course, those concerns are valid and they need to be addressed carefully. The key is to design regulations that mitigate those risks without, squashing the potential benefits. It's a complex challenge with some pretty high stakes.
Yeah, it sounds like the decisions made today could have a huge impact down the line, shaping the future of the entire global financial system. That's a lot of responsibility on those policymakers.
It is, and that's exactly why this conversation needs to go beyond, just policymakers and tech experts. We need input from diverse voices and perspectives to ensure that the future of finance works for everyone, not just a select few.
So where do we go from here? What are some of the potential scenarios the video outlines?
One particularly intriguing concept is the idea of a multi-currency world. Imagine a future where, traditional currencies like the dollar and the euro exist alongside and interact with a whole range of digital currencies and tokens.
I'm trying to picture that. It sounds, I don't know, kind of exciting, but also a bit overwhelming. More choices, more flexibility, maybe even more control over our own finances. But wouldn't having so many different currencies just create chaos and confusion?
That's a valid concern, and it's a topic that economists are actively debating. Some argue that the inherent volatility of cryptocurrencies makes them, well, unsuitable for widespread use. Others believe that as adoption grows and we develop more sophisticated risk management tools, the market will, eventually stabilize.
It does seem like we're entering uncharted territory.
Yeah.
There's really no historical precedent for this kind of financial transformation.
That's what makes it so fascinating. We're witnessing the birth of a new era in finance, and it's up to all of us to play a role in shaping it. Will it be a force for good, fostering financial inclusion and opportunity, or will it just worsen existing inequalities and lead to more instability?
Those are some pretty big questions. The video really emphasizes the importance of education and critical thinking. It encourages viewers to, do their own research, question their assumptions, and engage in meaningful discussions.
Right. Informed citizens are the foundation of any healthy democracy, and that's especially crucial in this rapidly evolving world of crypto and blockchain. We need to move past those overly simplified narratives and really engage with the nuances and complexities of this technology.
The video also stresses the importance of collaboration, breaking down the walls between governments, businesses, technologists, and everyday people. It's not just about the technology, it's about building a more equitable and sustainable financial system that works for everyone.
That's where the real transformative potential lies. If we can harness the power of this technology the right way, we can create levels of financial inclusion and opportunity that were, well, pretty much unimaginable before. Imagine a world where anyone, regardless of background or location, can access financial services, send money across borders instantly and cheaply, and truly participate in the global economy on a level playing field.
That's definitely a future worth working towards. But it's not going to happen automatically, is it? It's going to take effort, collaboration, and a willingness to challenge the way things are currently done.
It also requires each of us to ask ourselves, what part do I want to play in this? Will I just sit back and watch it happen, or will I be an active participant in shaping this future?
Those are powerful questions. But before we delve into those individual choices, let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. The video draws some pretty interesting parallels to historical events that might help us grasp just how significant this technological shift could be.
As they say, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. By studying the past, we can glean some valuable insights into where things might be headed.
So what historical events or trends does the video use to help us understand this crypto revolution?
That's where things get even more intriguing. We'll explore those historical parallels and what they might teach us about the road ahead in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so we're about to take a little trip back in time. Last time, the video drew some pretty fascinating historical parallels to help us wrap our heads around this whole crypto revolution. I'm curious to see what we can learn from looking back.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new technologies, right?
Yeah.
But we often forget that history is full of examples of innovations that people were skeptical of, even afraid of at first. Like the video talks about things like the printing press, the telegraph, and of course the internet. Each of those inventions totally changed the way we communicate and how we exchange value.
It's amazing to think about how groundbreaking those inventions were at the time. Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine a world without the printing press where knowledge was basically limited to handwritten manuscripts, or a world without the internet, where getting information meant actually going to a library.
Yeah, I mean, the printing press made knowledge accessible to everyone, right? It fueled the Renaissance. The telegraph connected continents, speeding up commerce and communication. And the internet, well, it's hard to imagine life without it now. It's become like the backbone of the modern world.
I know, right? And I remember those early days of the internet. There was this feeling of excitement, this sense of possibility, like we were on the verge of something huge.
Yeah.
Do you see any similarities between that and the energy around crypto today?
Definitely. There's a similar kind of pioneering spirit in the crypto space, this belief that it can disrupt industries, empower individuals, and create a more equitable world. Of course, there's also a lot of hype and speculation, just like there was with the early internet. Remember the whole dot-com bubble?
Oh yeah. How could I forget? It's a good reminder that not every innovation lives up to the initial hype, and there will always be some winners and losers.
Yeah.
But the video seems to argue that even if some crypto projects fail, the underlying blockchain technology is here to stay.
That's a really important point. Just like the internet survived the dot-com crash and became this essential part of our lives, blockchain has the potential to underpin so many different applications, from finance and supply chain management to things like voting and digital identity.
So it's not just about, trying to guess which coin is going to skyrocket in value. It's
Yeah.
about understanding that the technology itself has this power to change things.
Exactly. And that brings us to another interesting parallel from history. The impact of new technologies on developing countries. Think about the role of mobile phones in Africa, for example. They basically skipped over the whole landline phase and brought connectivity and financial services to millions of people who'd been excluded before.
That's a great example. It shows how technology can be this powerful force for inclusion and empowerment, right?
Right. And the video suggests that blockchain could have a similar impact in developing countries. Imagine being able to make secure and transparent financial transactions in places with very limited infrastructure. Farmers could get microloans, refugees could receive aid directly, and government funds could be tracked more effectively.
Those are some really compelling use cases. It's pretty inspiring to think about how this technology could make such a difference in the world. But, and I think it's important to acknowledge this, there are potential downsides too. The video mentions concerns about the environmental impact of crypto mining, the risk of it being used by criminals, and the possibility that it could actually worsen existing inequality.
You're absolutely right. It's important to address these challenges honestly and thoughtfully. Technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It's up to all of us to make sure that blockchain is developed and used responsibly and ethically.
So what can we as individuals do to help shape this future?
The video gives us a pretty clear call to action. Educate yourself, have those tough conversations, and don't be afraid to try things out. Start by learning about blockchain technology, what it can do, and what its limitations are. There are tons of resources online, in books, and even through courses.
Yeah, it's like anything else, right? Do your research, understand the risks and the potential rewards, and don't just blindly follow the hype.
Right. And then, talk about it. Have those conversations with your friends, family, and colleagues. Share what you're learning and be open to different viewpoints.
It's easy to get stuck in those echo chambers, especially online. But having those conversations, even if they get a little uncomfortable, is so important for figuring all of this out.
And finally, if you're feeling adventurous, dip your toes into the crypto world. Start small, learn as you go, and don't be afraid to ask questions. This is a new and exciting frontier, and there's still so much to discover.
That's a great point. This technology is still in its early stages, and there's a real opportunity to be a part of something truly groundbreaking.
The future of finance is being written right now. The question is, are you going to just watch it happen, or are you going to help write it?
That's a powerful question for all of us to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency. It's been a fascinating journey, and I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's a complex and rapidly evolving landscape, but it's also full of incredible potential. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future is ours to shape.